a very, very large lake, and I'll say a pretty odd shaped lake. Most stuff it's narrow on the north end, the upriver end, and then they kind of get bigger as you go downstream. Generally speaking, most stuff starts small, grows as it goes down the lake, and then that's where the dam is. This one is very, very odd shaped, and it mostly seems like the water flows from the west and flows east. Some of it is flowing from the south and flowing north. Some of it from the north flowing south down to it. So yeah, it's a very odd shaped lake. Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel, and we're here for the next lake breakdown, lake preview for the Bass Pro Tour season. And one thing I want to mention, when we're filming these, obviously doing them all at the same time, but I've just got my Lake Master cards here laid out to where I can just bounce from one to the next. This one being in Oklahoma is on that mid-south. We've done a few out of the southeast card, and got some coming up for the mid-Atlantic before too long, and then the northeast after that. But those Lake Master, one neat thing about it, I'll say real quick, is that when I set on my color highlights, my depth highlights, all that kind of stuff, it's basically programmed into the graph. And then when I pull the card out and plug the card back in, it just overlays all that automatically onto that card. So I don't have to reset that every time I change the cards. It's really nice how that works. But it's got big regions on there, but I've got them all laid out and just plug one in, plug one out, while we're doing this. Next up on the stop, this would be stage 4. Yeah, stage 4 of the Bass Pro Tour out in Oklahoma on Lake Eufaula. Not the Lake Eufaula in Alabama, where I have fished several times over the past few years. We fished some Bass Pro Tour there, fished a Red Crest there that Dustin Cannell won. And I've had some success on Lake Eufaula in Alabama, but have never been to Lake Eufaula, Oklahoma, and was just looking it up here before we started shooting this video. And I knew it was big, but I didn't realize it was 102,000 acres big. So very big lake as far as surface acres, about 600 miles of shoreline, which is big, but not as big as some lakes. I think like Lewis Smith down in Alabama is only 18,000 acres, but it's like 1,000 miles of shoreline. So being a bank beater like myself, having more shoreline miles is actually, a little more important than the surface acres, kind of in my book. But either way, very big lake. I know Edwin, we've talked about it a little bit, and he talks about that it'll get very rough as, it's Oklahoma. So I think there's songs about the wind blowing across Oklahoma or something. I don't know. Tumbleweeds and all that kind of fun stuff. But a very, very large lake, and I'll say a pretty odd shaped lake. Most stuff it's narrow on the north end, the upriver end, and then they kind of get bigger as you go downstream towards the dam. It might have a pinch point or something, but generally speaking, most stuff starts small, grows as it goes down the lake, and then that's where the dam is. This one is very, very odd shaped. It's got multiple arms, that are plenty big enough to spend your whole time in, and it mostly seems like the water flows from the west and flows east. Some of it is flowing from the south and flowing north. Some of it from the north flowing south down to it. So yeah, it's a very odd shaped lake, and multiple places where you've got really big open areas that pinch down into a narrow spot, and then it opens back up into these basins and stuff. So yeah, just a very, very odd shaped place. Is kind of my first impression. Well, I've looked at it on the map and on Google Earth and stuff some. It seems like there's some natural rock, not a ton of it, I wouldn't say. Oklahoma, especially out in this part of it, it's not like it is up at Grand, where there's a lot of rock, definitely a lot of mud and a lot of silt. And that's one thing looking at it that you can tell a little bit, from the mapping and stuff. Like let's take this arm here. I don't even know what the name of this one is. So you can see you've got a major river channel, a major river, major creek, whatever, feeding in here. But you can see like this little small channel coming back in, and then it opens up into this big flat area. That tells you just looking at that, I would expect there to be little to no natural rock in here. A lot of just dirt, a lot of sand, a lot of silt. I think that's a big thing about this lake. I have no idea what the water level is currently, or what it should be when we're going to be there. In early May, like we are, I would assume it would be full. Most places are around that time, but a place like this, man, it reminds me of a north end of Sam Rayburn. Um, Probably doesn't have. I don't think that it would have cypress trees, but kind of a Santee type stuff, just real big flat mud. Um, you know that backwater type stuff. But you can tell, like you've got this defined channel that's only showing 2, 3, 4 feet deep coming out here, and then this part right here. This is what really tells me this is the North Canadian River. Um, this to me is what really screams a lot of silt and a lot of siltation happening on a lake like this. So you've got this defined river channel coming down. Well, then where it kind of starts to dump out into what looks to be the main lake, you've got these points that kind of stick off either side of that river channel, where it forks out and stuff. And that just, man, to me, that just really screams that there's not a good defined channel that comes on out, and you can tell where it goes. It's like it just comes out, the channel ends, and then it's just like a big flat. That's definitely kind of what that says to me. I'm going to try something here and see if it, I don't know if there's any aerial overlay on the water really to speak of here or not. Doesn't look like there is. I've got it on for land and water. Yeah, so I'm not seeing any aerial overlay. Okay. Sometimes with that aerial overlay, you can go to these layers up here, and like I've got it set for the aerial display to be on land and water. So if there was a picture taken with the water down some, I can have that showing up, and it will lay that image over top of the water. So that's pretty neat. Sometimes that you can do that and really be able to see that satellite image picture out onto the water, but it doesn't look like there's um, any images that was taken with the water level down or anything. But yeah, so you can see, like I was saying, this is the main river, right, coming down. Well, then it hits here where it opens up into this basin. It doesn't really have any more of a defined channel that would have been there prior to the lake having been there. So that to me screams, this place gets a lot of silt, which again says that there will be very little natural rock up in a place like this. Because you get down here, I mean, man, this is a side creek arm that would have been there. Very well defined channels and stuff going into that, that haven't been silted in over the years. So you get, to me, a place like this. I just historically looking at these kind of places, you'll either catch them way up one of those rivers and get into something where there's a population of fish that live, or you need to be like in the main basin of the lake, to where you have these. I mean, like, again, I've never been here before in my life, but an arm like this, it's got these natural or these little coves and places like that would be good for fish to get in and spawn. It's got places that's going to be protected, and I say it's got places that would be protected. What are they protected from? Because it probably doesn't have an extreme amount of current that flows down the main lake. In Oklahoma, they need to be protected from the wind. That's one of the biggest things that can disrupt a bass being able to spawn successfully in a lake like this is the wind, because they do get extreme winds out there, more so than we deal with here in Tennessee and some other parts of the country. So when you're looking at places that are protected in a Oklahoma, in a Texas, out in that part of the world, you're looking at places where those fish can get protected from the wind. Here it's like you want places that are going to be out of the main river current, but that's the kind of place that you're looking for there. But yeah, this arm here to me, man, it's got a little bit of everything. It's got some good offshore stuff, which I don't expect to be playing the time of year we're there, but it's good that it's got a little bit of everything. It's got very defined pockets and stuff for those fish to get back in and again get protected to be able to spawn. There's a lot of houses around here, so maybe there's some boat docks in this particular cove. But a place like that looks really fishy to me versus take like this big swag of the lake there. It's got a little cove, but it doesn't have those real small little fingers and stuff like that to me, or even this creek arm. It's got some little pockets and stuff off to the side of it that fish could get in to spawn, but doesn't have as much definition out in the base of it, you know, for those fish to use as a migration route in and out. So that to me is why I would be drawn more to a place like that. But then this is kind of one of those places I was talking about at first that just make this lake unique. You know, so you've got all this water up here. This is all upstream. Right here's the dam. But then the whole lake narrows down in to this little section right here. And you can tell here that it is super steep. I mean, everything right here must be nearly a bluff. You've got this long run out down here, but man, this whole section here, it's got to be high banks on both sides of it because it's very steep down into the water. Completely different lake, in my opinion, what I'm going to see down here than what it is up on that upper end. So I say all that to say we're here in early May. This part of the world, I expect fish to be spawning. There'll probably be fish that haven't spawned, and there will probably be fish that are done spawning at some part of this. You know, I would think that these shallower back ends would be where fish have spawned first and probably be done. Mid-lake section may be, you know, fish spawning or you know, haven't spawned yet, or maybe a few that are done. The further you get down the lake would be more, you know, kind of running behind of the fish that, you know, haven't or pre-spawn or maybe just starting to spawn. Just kind of my thought process. So with that lower end being, you know, extremely different, I expect there to be fish in all stages of the spawn when we're going to be at this event, because that's just kind of the time of the year. That's what I would expect, and how diverse of a fishery, just layout wise, that this place is. I really can't get over how unique of a shape that it is. I mean, like this deal here, you come down this south arm, and you've got some really steep stuff, and you know, some flat stuff on the south shoreline. This little narrow cut coming in, that boom, then you get back in there and it opens up into this big, you know, pretty big basin, and then it narrows up again, and then comes back and opens up into this other large basin. Same deal over here in this arm. Just a very unique shaped fishery. I don't know any other way to put it. If there was to be a lot of rain beforehand and they were pulling a lot of water through it, man, there would be some places that, you know, those places that are natural neck downs, as well as some of these bridges and stuff, that would have to be a magnet to those fish. So I'm excited about going to someplace new. We've got some other new stops on the Bass Pro Tour this season that are some other very large, pretty unique fisheries. This, man, just scroll and look at this arm. You could spend your whole practice up in this particular creek arm here. This goes forever and ever in all different directions. But yeah, pretty awesome looking place here at Lake Eufaula, Oklahoma. It's not, to my knowledge, it's not an outstanding fishery. I think it's solid. I think it has some really good quality fish in it, but it's not a place that has just an extreme population of fish, from my understanding. So, you know, it could be one of those deals where, you know, 10 or 12 scoreable fish in a day is going to be pretty good. That's, in my mind, that's kind of what I'm thinking right off the bat. But yeah, certainly excited about getting out there. It's a fun time of year to be fishing, fun time of year to be outside. And maybe on an off day, I'll find somewhere to go shoot a turkey. Who knows, while we're there. So that's it. Wrapping up for Lake Eufaula, Oklahoma. Should be a fun event on the BPT season.